Hi and welcome to this video. We are looking at some interview mistakes that you might be making unknowingly. As usual, my name is Mary and I'm glad to be joined by Noella in this conversation. Thank you, Noella, for joining in.
Thank you for inviting me, Mary.
I know interviews are always nerve-wracking, and over and above that, there could be mistakes that candidates could be making without knowing. So that is what we are discussing today. Let us just dive straight into it. What are some of the common interview mistakes that candidates do make or often overlook without knowing?
Unknowingly. I know most candidates who go into interviews, they feel like they performed really well, but they are not aware of the mistakes they might have been making. And I will just talk about around 4 common mistakes. Number 1 is inadequate research about the company. A candidate might walk into an interview not knowing much about the company in terms of the products and services this company offers. Also, what is the company's culture, what is their mission and vision. These are things that are available online. You can easily Google and find this information. Also, the industry to which the company falls under. If it's a manufacturing industry, you'd be able to know, you'll be able to have an idea of what this company would, what would be expected of you during the interview after doing the research on the company. Another mistake I could mention is not tailoring your responses to the job description. Remember, when you're preparing for an interview, the job description is the one that should guide you. It should be like the manual, you know. It should guide you on during preparation of the interview. So not going through the job description. When you're going through the job description, you'll get a better understanding of the roles and responsibilities. You also understand what is required of you, what is expected of you, and the key requirements, right? So if you don't go through the job description, it's like you're setting up yourself for failure. Oh, sure. Yes. And then the third one I would also mention is talking negatively about your current or previous employers. Some candidates may feel like by talking negatively about their current or previous employer would validate them. Yeah, but this is very inappropriate. It comes across as unprofessional, and to make the interviewer question whether you are the the right candidate or you have the right attitude, and whether you can be able to work as a team, and collaborate with the team members. Then lastly, inappropriate dress code. If you're going to a corporate office, you need to dress formally. If this company, it's a bit casual, you're not expected to dress formally. Yeah, so candidates may also be mistaken. Sometimes they don't take it as seriously, but if it's a corporate office, you need to wear official dress code, right? So dress code is very key. Very important. In fact, we normally say whether you're going to be interviewed for a field officer role, where it is so obvious you'll be in the field from Monday to Monday. Yeah. For purposes of making the first great impression, you have to look the part. Yeah. Interesting. Out of your experience now as an interview coach, what advice do you have for candidates who during the interview they tend to ramble or even go off topic during interviews? What advice do you have for them? Okay, yeah, most of the time candidates during the interview may be struggling to respond to the questions. Yeah, and we find that maybe the answers, their responses are all over the place. Yeah, some advice I could give, the first one is practice the STAR method. And the STAR method, this stands for S is the situation, the task, action, and the result. It just enables you to come up with a structured response to the questions that you're being asked. So it will help you to be concise and also stay relevant, The second advice is to pause and collect your thoughts. Yeah. So before you respond to any question, it helps you to, when you pause and you collect your thoughts, it helps you to focus on the key points. For example, when you're asked about a question on your strengths and weaknesses, you might feel the urge to keep talking, But when you pause, when you pause, you collect your thoughts, you'll be able to focus on what is important and respond to it. Number 3 is limiting the length of your responses. You find that a question, just a simple question that requires like a 1-minute response, a candidate might take 5 minutes to respond to it. So limit the length of your response. It should be like under 2 minutes, you know. That will help you to stay concise also, and also gives the interviewer room to ask you follow-up questions. Remember, the interviews it's a conversation. Yeah, so both of you need to be involved. Lastly, practice mock interviews. You can do this with a family friend, with your family, or just a friend, or an interview coach. Yeah, practice the common questions, the commonly asked questions, the behavioral questions, and you'll get feedback from them on how you have performed and what you need to work on.
We started by talking about highlighting some of the interview mistakes that candidates overlook, like not dressing appropriately. You've talked about not doing industry research, or even talking negatively about your current or your previous employer. So as we close this video, what final tip do you have that you can provide to help candidates avoid making such interview mistakes?
Okay, a few tips I can share so that candidates may be prepared and also avoid making such mistakes. Prepare thoroughly. Preparation involves researching about the company, researching the industry and the industry trends, mastering the contents of your CV, and keenly going through the job description. Yeah, that is part of preparation. So when you focus on those 4 things, you'll be well prepared for the interview. Also rehearse with a purpose. When you're doing mock interviews with your family or friend or the interview coach, ensure that you pay attention to the constructive feedback that you're receiving, and those are the things you need to work on if there is something you should work on. Dress appropriately. Yeah, this is an interview. You're meeting these people for the first time, so dress appropriate should also create that first impression, you know. It has to be positive. Also, use the STAR method, just like we have already mentioned, to structure your responses to ensure that your responses are not all over the place. And then lastly, reflect on your past interviews. You might have been failing on interviews. You are not sure about how you've been performing, okay? Reflect on those past interviews. Where were you falling short? And then work on those key areas to enhance your performance
for future interviews.
Yes.
Interesting. I know there is quite a lot when it comes to making sure that you're not able to make any mistake during an interview, because it's just like public speaking. Right. We keep saying you have to look the part, tailor your responses to suit the audience. So the same applies for interviews. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Mary.
Indeed, when it comes to interviews, making sure that you are not doing or overlooking any mistake is very important. And how do you get to know? Because some of these mistakes, they happen knowingly or unknowingly. And I like what Noella has mentioned, where you get to practice and rehearse with someone you can trust, or get a more personalized coaching session. Get someone else help you to identify the areas that you could be falling short as far as your interviewing skills are concerned, because the end goal is you want to ace the interview and get the job. And that is why we encourage you to reach out to us if you have an upcoming interview, or even when you want to prepare for future interviews, and we'll be glad to take you through the mock session to help you identify or understand areas where you could be falling short and how best you can package yourself for future interviews. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next one.